This is what Ladies Retreat is all about.
Hey, y'all. My name's Brigitte Corley. Who likes to get gifts? I do, but you know I've never won a door prize here. And this is my 5th Ladies Retreat. But now the first year I came here, I got the grand prize. And it's available to everybody in here. There's enough grand prizes in here for anybody who wants it. The grand prize I was talking about, it's love and peace, the gift of love and peace. And there's enough here for everybody, for anybody. If you just believe, that God sent his son, Jesus, down here to die for us on the cross, went to the grave for 3 days and arose and sits by the right hand of God and sent the Holy Spirit down here for us, all you have to do is believe it. Repent of your sins, ask for forgiveness, and believe. And you got the gift of peace. And that's something you can't buy. And I want to tell y'all my story of how I got it. Who is here for the first time at the Ladies Retreat? Y'all are in for a wonderful weekend. I came in 2011, and I don't know what you came here expecting. I wasn't really expecting. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't really thinking a lot about it. My ex-boyfriend actually invited me here. He had became friend. He met some Nazarene ladies in Fitzgerald, Georgia, and they befriended him and loved him, and even though he was a drug addict. And they helped him get into a local rehab over here in Soberton, Georgia, and he stayed there for 2 years. And he came over here to Adrian Work Week in the spring, and he met Jeff Croft, and Jeff hired him on as a groundsman, maintenance man here. And I would still talk to Emery. I guess a lot of y'all know him. It's Emery. He's back there in the back. But we would still talk. We were friends. He'd call me all the time, and he'd tell me about this new life he had with God, and I'd listen to him. But Emery had always been a con man, and I figured he was just trying to get me to believe him again and wanted to get back together. I didn't want to, but I would talk to him. And him and Miss Dorothy Fuller, where's Miss Dorothy? They started praying for me to come to the Ladies Retreat, I guess the late summer of 2011. And at the time, me and my sister, we would go and we clipped coupons and went shopping, and then we go to the flea market and sell the stuff, shampoo and air fresheners and stuff like that. But that's how we made a living. And I really couldn't afford to take the weekend off, so Emery scraped together a little money to help me for the weekend that I wasn't going to be working, and Miss Dorothy sponsored me. And so I finally agreed to come on. She paid my way and let me stay in one of her cabins. And I didn't expect a lot. I believed in God, but I didn't go to church. I'd had an encounter with God when I was a child, like 12, and I felt like I'd got saved and I was going to heaven, But I didn't live for the Lord. Like I said, I didn't go to church. I didn't have morning devotions. I didn't read my Bible. I didn't pray unless something bad happened and I needed help. Like a lot of people don't pray till things get bad. I didn't raise my girls in church. They would go if it was vacation Bible school or something going on or children's activities, they would go. And I sure didn't tithe. But I still thought I was okay with salvation. I'm not knocking any denomination, but I went to a Baptist church when I was a child, and a lot of them say once saved, always saved. And that's kind of what I thought. I thought I was a good person. I'd raised 3 girls. I didn't drink anymore at that time, and I was nice to people. I had a big old trailer, lived on an acre of land that my daddy had gave me, and I figured I'd pretty much live out the rest of my years there, and just die there. Both my sisters live on the farm, and my mom, everybody's got a little piece of land. But I had a lot of hate in my heart. Against 2 men. And it wasn't Emery. I was through with Emery and what he had done to me. He wasn't in my life anymore. But my brother-in-law, he stole a lot of stuff from my parents through the years. Once he even stole my checkbook because I was hiding it at Mama's house so my husband couldn't find it. And he caused my sister a lot of strife because he's always been an addict. And he still lives there now, so life was hard being around him. And the other person was my son-in-law. he had took my daughter, and they got married, but he sort of brainwashed her. It was like him and her against the world. And it got to the point where we couldn't even go see her or my grandson unless we had an appointment and made sure he was home. And they lived 3 miles from me. And at one point, he even abused her early on, and she wouldn't leave him. And I can honestly say, if I ever hated anybody, I hated him. So I came to the retreat. And Emery talked us into coming 2 days early. And we came 2 days early, and the Christian Family Center where Emery went to the rehab was having revival. So we went over there that Wednesday night to revival, and James Payne, who is a Christian country singer, he was the speaker, and he started talking about forgiveness. Let me back up. When I got here, Emery was sitting at the entrance to the campground on his golf cart, just sitting there grinning when we pulled in, And he looked so different, but he'd been clean for 2.5 years. And he also had his own little cabin, and it was the littlest, ugliest cabin here. But he was so proud of it. But even better than that was his enthusiasm when he talked about the Lord, So we went on to the CFC that night, and like I said, James Payne was speaking, and he talked about forgiveness, how you have to forgive other people who've hurt you. And that's when God started tapping on the door of my heart. The door of my heart. And by the end of the service, I was crying. And Miss Dorothy's sitting there giving me tissues, And I'm kind of tenderhearted anyway. I do cry easy. But the second night, we went back over there, and Ronnie Trent, an evangelist from Tennessee, was speaking. And guess what he spoke about? Forgiveness. And by the end of that night, I was crying even harder. And Miss Dorothy was sitting there giving me tissues. Then the ladies' retreat started. And in the dining hall, all the Fitzgerald ladies were over there. I see a bunch of them over there because they sit together, And they said, hey, you come sit with us, And there was about 8 or 9 of them that year that was here. And I shopped in the same town as them. I lived like one town over, but it was a small town. And went to the same Walmart they did, but I didn't know any of them, because I wasn't a Christian like they were. But they were really nice and kind and made me feel welcome. I don't really remember much about that Friday night. It sort of seems like a blur now, but Saturday night is when my whole life was changed. I don't even remember who the speaker was. It wasn't you, Donna. But the lady started talking about forgiveness. She said, the Lord will only forgive you if you can forgive other people. And I'd never heard that before, She said, you can even forgive some. If you have to take them to court, just forgive them. You can still take them to court. You don't have to hang out with them. Just forgive them. And you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. God was ripping them roots of hate out from around my heart. You plant seeds of goodness, or you can plant bad seeds. And then bad seeds will take root and grow around your heart, and hold it in to where you keep that hatred in. But He was pulling them off my heart. I was ready to give it to God. I was crying like a baby then. And Miss Dorothy, she's sitting there giving me tissues. And she said, are you ready? And I knew what she meant. And I was ready. And I got up and I went down to the altar. And right down here. And I was sitting there praying, and I felt a warm hand on my shoulder. I didn't know who it was at first, and I turned around and looked, and it was Miss Kay Batten, who turned out to be one of my spiritual moms. And while I was down there praying, another lady, Miss Martha Dobson, who's the elder of the church, she came down to me as I was praying. I was praying for forgiveness and asking the Lord to forgive me, and to come into my life. And she asked me what I wanted to tell the Lord. And I told her that I wanted to live for Him, and I wanted to serve Him in whatever way He wanted me to. She later anointed my head with oil, and she gave me a verse. It was Jeremiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And I thought that was really cool because I got a bad foot, and so I don't walk that good, So she gave me the right one. So after the service, Emery was at the front door waiting on us. He said I was glowing and asked me what had happened. And I told him that I'd finally did it, that I'd gave it all to the Lord. And I had. And I felt like 20 pounds was lifted off my shoulder. You know, I just felt so free. And I knew that the Lord was with me and that he was in me at that moment. Afterwards, I wanted to go tell my brother-in-law and my son-in-law that I forgave them. But Emery said, that's not how it works. You know, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. Well, that night, after years of telling Emery I'd never marry him, I asked him to marry me. He did. He said yes. The next day I called my sister Kim, and Kim, you're not here yet, are you? My sister's coming and my mom's coming. But my sister's been my best friend all my life. And she really didn't want me to come, but, you know, I came anyway. And I called to tell her about my experience. I said, I gave my life to the Lord. She said, okay. I said, one of the elders even put oil on my head. She said, why are you letting them put oil on your head? I said, I don't know. That's just what they do. And then I told her, I said, I met a new man. She said, at the ladies' retreat? I said, yeah, his name's Emery. She said, oh my God. She said, not again. Please don't do this again, BB. She calls me BB. I said, Kim, he's changed. I said, we're engaged and we're going to get married and I'm moving to Adrian. She was in shock. And I've never been a spontaneous person in my life. I plan everything. And she was serious. She said, don't drink the Kool-Aid. I'm coming to get you. She doesn't like it when I tell her that. She said, people are going to think I'm crazy. But she thought I joined a cult. She didn't know what had happened. She didn't really know anything about Nazarenes either, you know. She was coming to get her sister. And she was here the next day to get me now. But she came and she met the new Emery. And she met Jeff and Peggy. I see Miss Peggy. She met Jeff and Peggy. And who else did she meet? Miss Fuller. She met Miss Fuller. And she saw the campground and she gave us her blessing and her approval, you know. And so when I went home, the Fitzgerald ladies, who Emery later called his and God's posse, they would keep me in check, you know, I guess to make sure I was going to come back. They would come and see me. They would visit me. They would pray that I would get sick for smoking cigarettes because I still smoked cigarettes. And I did get sick. But I've quit now. I've been quit for over 2 years now. That's another story. But, and I couldn't go to church on Sunday mornings because I was at the flea market working. They said, well, you can come Wednesday night. So I went every Wednesday night until we got married. And so the following February, me and Emery were married, February the 4th, 2012, and we've been living here ever since. Well, I've been living here ever since with him. But God's been using me in many ways since then. I volunteer here at the campground during the events, and I sit in there and check the bracelets, you know. Make sure you got your bracelet on so you can eat. I have met thousands of people sitting in that line. Before I moved up here, I probably had 5 friends, and 4 of them was kin to me. You know, and now I have thousands of y'all that I call friends. But I've also been called to preach. And on November 22nd, I'll be getting my local minister's license at my local church in Wrightsville, Georgia. If you told me 4 years ago that I'd be married to a pastor, be getting my minister's license, and living on a Nazarene campground, I'd have said you were crazy. You know, but that was God's plan for me. The Lord blesses me and Emery in so many ways that we don't even deserve. And we just love him so much, and we love all y'all. And oh yeah, now we have the biggest cabin on the campground. Let's have a great weekend.